Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Superheroes, Movies, and Superhero Movies. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
Today we're going to talk about Jurassic Park, which just so happens to be my favorite movie, as well as John's.
That's right.
Jurassic Park came out in June of 1993, 20 years ago, so this is almost a 20th anniversary look back at our favorite movie. It was directed by Steven Spielberg, and it stars Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Samuel L. Jackson, Richard Attenborough, Ariana Richards, Joseph Mazzello, Wayne Knight, who people might know from Seinfeld, Bob Peck, who played Muldoon, and I think... Oh, and Jeff Goldblum, of course. How could I forget Jeff Goldblum? So, normally, I think about this point, I would give you kind of my overall thoughts on the film, and John would give his, but I've just told you that it's our favorite movie, so I think we're just going to kind of jump right into talking about the film. John, do you remember the first time you saw this movie?
Of course. I think that was the moment that I decided that I was really interested in film. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty much the first magical movie moment that I've ever had, and I wouldn't say that I've ever had it since.
I kind of would agree with that. I think I remember seeing it when I was a kid. I was 9 years old, and I think it's safe to say I had never really seen anything like it before. It really kind of opened my eyes to, like you said, movie magic, and it just really took me to a different world that I had never seen. And from then on, I mean, I was a movie fan before that even. I like to go see movies in the theater, even as a kid.
Right.
But that movie really, cemented the film lover in me.
What were some of the movies that you remember
seeing before that?
Yeah, that made you interested in movies before Jurassic Park?
Back to the Future and Ghostbusters are probably the two earliest movie memories I have. I didn't see them in the theater, I don't think, but I do remember watching them a lot on VHS when I was a kid. And then after that, I remember seeing... I was trying to think of the first Spielberg movie I saw in the theater, and it might have been Hook. I don't recall if I saw Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade in the theater in '89 or not. But Hook, I remember seeing Beauty and the Beast that year at '91 as well in the theater, and both of those movies I really enjoyed a lot. So, but I think Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, maybe even Hook as a kid, really kind of just,
I find it interesting you brought up Hook because that was one of mine.
Was it?
Yeah, I actually at school gathered a group of friends to start a game like Hook. Mm-hmm. Our entire class ended up playing it.
Oh, that's cool.
But Hook was definitely the inspiration for that. I saw that in theater. Don't think I saw Indiana Jones. No, I know I didn't. I didn't see Indiana Jones until VHS.
Batman. That's another one I got to see in theaters, and that's another movie that I think was...
I'm so jealous. I did not get to see Batman. It was too violent, according to my parents.
That was one... My dad had to go see it first, and thankfully he said it was okay for me to go see. And I was very excited. Are you
surprised about that?
A little bit. I mean, it was 89. If it was in the summer of 89, I was 5 years old. So, yeah, I was... it's a little surprising.
It was a dark movie. I mean, it wasn't dark, but especially for the time it came out.
Sure. But I loved it. I remember watching it in the theater. I remember being in the theater watching that movie. And I remember when the second one came out, my parents didn't go preview it because they were like, "Oh, the first one's fine." And I remember my parents, I think they thought, well, maybe I should have gone to see this one first, because the second one was even darker than the first one with the penguin and everything. So
that's one that my parents let me go see without them seeing it first. And yeah, that was... You liked Batman Returns. I still can't really say that I'm a fan of it.
Well, maybe... When's the last time you saw it?
A few years ago. I've tried to watch it several times.
I like it. I think I like it more now as an adult than I did as a kid, because as a kid, this might have been influenced from my parents because they weren't really fans of it. I did I think I like Batman Forever more, and obviously the original Batman more. But as I got older, I bought it on DVD and I rewatched it, and I actually have fun watching that movie. It's good, I think. So you should maybe give it another chance. We'll do an episode about it.
Sure. The thing that I definitely give it is I still love the Burton, touch to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just a little bit too much of a step for me. But anyway,
we're getting off on a little bit of a sidetrack, but Batman Returns has, in my opinion, the best Batman costume. Like, the costume that he wears in Batman Returns is my favorite out of all the costumes. Out of all the Batman costumes.
Okay.
I think it just has a really good... It's just a really classic, cool Batman look to it. And it's my favorite. But anyway, so I think Batman and Batman Returns both came out before Jurassic Park. Batman Returns was in 92, I believe. So that's another film, I guess you could say, that also kind of, these movies all took me to a different world, if you will. I've said that. I think I said that already with Jurassic Park. But they took me to another place. And I was able to get lost in them. I was able to get wrapped up in them. But Jurassic Park elevated that.
Right.
And I think part of it was... the introduction of CGI, but they did it so well. I mean, these dinosaurs really came to life.
Right. Especially the first time you see the Brachiosaurus.
Right.
And at the time, it looked real to the audience. Looking at it now, you can tell it's CGI, but it's not bad CGI.
Right. It still holds up, definitely. The CGI in this movie is better than some CGI that I've seen recently. For example, I just saw R.I.P.D. in the theater not too long ago, and all the CGI in that movie is terrible. And so you go back and you watch this movie that's 20 years old, and to see that it has better CGI than some movies that are put out today, it kind of makes you wonder. Either they put a lot of effort into Jurassic Park, or... they're not putting as much effort into movies now. I don't know, but the CGI is definitely
It's a good question because, CGI would have been so much more expensive then, too.
Mm-hmm.
So...
which I think is part of the reason why it's part CGI, part animatronic, which I think is what makes it so awesome.
Oh, yeah. Boy, don't you wish you could get a bullhorn and shout that to the executives.
Yeah.
They'll learn eventually. I think they've caught on a lot better. I think that they're paying a lot more attention to the internet's voice.
Mm.
I think we've seen a lot of influence with that in movies,
which I think can be a good thing, and I think it can also be a bad thing.
Yeah,
I think if you listen to the fans too much, I think sometimes fans want. Like, for example, with comic book movies, I think fans want the movies to be like the comic book. But sometimes if you take a literal translation of a comic book to the screen, it doesn't work as well. There's things that work in the comic book page that don't translate necessarily to film. Right. There has to be some sort of sense of realism in a movie, even if it's a comic book movie.
An example I would bring up would be Watchmen, which I loved.
I liked Watchmen too. Mm-hmm.
But it was literally the comic.
Right, and then a lot of fans didn't like it. But granted, they did change the ending and whatnot. But I think it's more than just the ending as to why people didn't like it.
Right. The graphic novel I like better than the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it didn't get to pull the graphic novel. You just wanted more of the graphic novel in it.
Right.
Maybe if you'd done, a trilogy, that would have been awesome.
Right, and that's the other thing too is, it's a different medium. So there's things that you have to cut out. There's things that you have to replace, perhaps. Or
what did you think about them changing the ending?
You know what? I actually I don't mind it at all. I think if you just watch the movie by itself and forget about the graphic novel, the ending of the movie really works for that story. Because the graphic novel, I remember in the ending it all had to do with, well, maybe it didn't all have to do with it, but I know the artist of the comic book, the Pirate Tales of the Black Freighter, mm-hmm. and other artists and I don't know if it was scientists but other these kind of smart people were all put there, and they created that giant squid or whatever. And you just couldn't put that in the movie. They didn't have the artist of the.
Oh no, I agree.
Tales of Black Freighter. I mean, even in the theatrical version, Tales of Black Freighter is not even in it.
Yeah.
So for the theatrical story, I think the ending of the movie actually really works.
If they could do it, I would like to see them do it.
Right.
Or I would have liked to have seen them do it. But I agree. I think it would have been a little too much unbelievable and just take you out of the movie.
Right, and it could have maybe even looked silly seeing
right.
this giant squid alien thing.
Especially to all the people that didn't read it. And
right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the movie. I'm also a fan of the comic book. I think he did a good job with,
Oh, I loved watching it.
So
I have the Blu-ray collector's edition. Which has the Black Freighter segments
added into it.
Yeah.
I've watched that one. It's a bit long because it's close to 4 hours or something. But it's good. Back to Jurassic Park. The first time I saw this movie, my brother was going to see it, and I begged my mom to let me go see it with him. And I guess she finally gave in. I think she was worried that it was going to scare me. So she finally gave in, and she says, "Fine, but if you have nightmares, don't come crying to me." And I was like, "Woohoo!" And I ran out the door to go see the movie with my brother.
Did you really do the woohoo?
Probably. And so we get to the theater, and for whatever reason, we're running a bit late. I don't know if it was my fault because I was trying to get my mom's permission or what. But we get to the movie theater a little bit late, and my brother wants to go get some popcorn. And so I go, I'm going to go run into the theater and see if the movie started. And he's like, all right. And so I walk through the doors, and I'm in the back of the theater. And as soon as I walk in, I'm hearing all this yelling, and I hear, "Shoot her! Shoot her!" And I'm seeing, flashing light, and I see a glimpse of a velociraptor, and this guy's getting eaten. And I remember thinking to myself, maybe this was a mistake. And so I walk back out, and I find my brother getting popcorn, and I don't even think I said anything to him. I think I was just quiet and was like, "Oh my God, what's going on?"
But you liked it.
Oh yeah, I mean, we walked back in. We missed the scene in the beginning where the lawyer's meeting with the I don't even know what you would call that guy. The guy that's digging for
right. He's
for amber. He calls himself a digger.
Right.
We missed that scene, or missed most of it anyway. And then we come back in, and we're with. I think at that point we're with Alan Grant, right?
Yep.
We're with Alan Grant and Ellie.
Yep, they're
Sattler.
looking for dinosaur bones.
Right. And so the movie kind of calms down, obviously, right away, and I was fine. And I enjoyed the rest of the movie. I loved it. I went to go see it 3 times, or I guess 2 more times in the theater, which at that point in my life I think was the most I'd ever seen a movie in the theater. I remember dragging my parents to go see it and telling them how much I loved it. Bought all the toys.
I actually never got the toys.
Oh, really?
But I loved watching the commercials for them. One of the things that I remember were the McDonald's cups. And I was actually in Kentucky, out of town. And my parents were going to go see Jurassic Park while I was out of town because they were. I was visiting my aunt to see if it was okay for me.
Right? They wanted to see if it was all right.
So I'm seeing these McDonald's cups of these amazing dinosaurs and just seeing the gigantic hype for this movie. That movie was super hyped.
Right.
I mean, it was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably one of the things that also helped make it so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But they said I could go see it, so I go back and see it, and it was just I'd never seen anything like it.
Right.
Especially in the theater. And that, wow. I ended up seeing it 7 times in the theater. And I have not broken that record yet. Like with any movie. I think you have.
I have. I've seen a few movies maybe more times than I should have, but I have, for sure. Speaking of the McDonald's cups, I still have the Tyrannosaurus Rex cup. Unfortunately, though, it's falling apart. It's starting to break. Pieces have broken off of it and whatnot. I have no idea why that's happening. I don't know if it's because I haven't really been using it as a cup and it's just been sitting on a shelf and it's just gotten brittle. But I don't know if I still have it, but I used to have a Brachiosaurus cup as well. So I totally remember those McDonald's cups. Those things were awesome.
Yeah.
I wish those fast food places would actually still make those. Because I've got a few from the original Batman from 1989. I've got one from Batman Returns. I've got some from Batman and Robin, and I think I've got one from like Godzilla or something.
Why do you have those?
I don't know, but I definitely have a Mr. Freeze cup. Still
you know what? I think I had those at one point. I remember the Batman Forever ones, the Riddler.
Oh, those were glass mugs. I've got those too. Those were
the
awesome.
handle was his cane. That was I remember that. That was cool.
Yeah, the Two-Face one, the handle was his coin flipping through the air. Yeah.
That was hard to hold.
It was. It was not very comfortable, but it was still cool. I've got all four of those. I remember making my mom go to McDonald's over and over again to try to get like the right mug. Man, they don't do anything like that anymore.
Well, I mean, the last one that I remember, which I had all of them, and I think 3 of them have broken, but the Star Trek reboot.
Oh, that's right.
Burger King
I got those from Burger King. I got those glasses as well. That's true. I guess they do it every now and again.
The one that I still have is my favorite character, Kirk. So
nice.
No, I take that back. Kirk broke, and my favorite cup was Spock because Leonard Nimoy's on it.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
I guess I haven't looked at it recently.
It's him, and then Zachary. How do you say his last name?
Quinto, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Quinto, maybe? I don't know.
Is on there. But anyway, I've got that like stored away now.
Right.
With padding and stuff, because that'll be cool to have in 30 years.
That would be cool. So anyway, back to Jurassic Park. Alan Grant and Dr. Ellie Sattler are digging up dinosaur bones in the movie. And I love that scene where he goes into detail about what a velociraptor would do to that kid when he's like trying to kind of terrorize that kid.
That was a Spielberg scene right there.
It was so great too because it's just really it tells the audience exactly. I mean, that made you scared of velociraptors and you haven't even seen one yet. I mean, granted you got a glimpse of one in the very first scene. But you didn't but as an audience member you're not even sure what that was.
Right.
If you haven't seen the movie before, you didn't know that was a velociraptor. That was just an animal or something. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're assuming it was a dinosaur because that's what this movie's about, but you don't know what it is exactly. And then he gives this great description of a velociraptor and how it'll slice open your belly, and the attack will actually come from the side from the 2 velociraptors you didn't even know were there. Like it made you go, okay, these dinosaurs are a threat. And then they add to that even more when they get to the island, and Muldoon is saying they should all be destroyed, and you see them being fed, and they just rip that cage apart that had that bull in it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
They really set up the velociraptors as like a big threat in that movie, really well.
And you know, I just thought of this, too. They totally used the Jaws tactic with that.
By not really showing it to you?
Yeah. Well, they didn't show the raptor at all. They're under the leaves, and all you do is see the leaves, or the trees, like, just shaking, like, and hearing total chaos. And then he says,
I never really thought about that.
Yeah, I just
the first time. I mean, you see the baby velociraptor in the beginning, but when's the first time you see an adult velociraptor? Is it after
after the T-Rex, isn't it?
I want to say it's when
it's with Robert Muldoon.
I think it's when Laura Dern is. Oh, maybe it is. I was gonna say it's when Laura Dern was turning on the power back on. But I think maybe you see one with Muldoon right before that.
Right. It's pretty much the same scene. It's cutting back and forth between the events.
So it's pretty late into the movie, actually.
Right. So they saved that one for last. The T-Rex, of course, for the middle of the movie, that just... Everyone is not thinking about anything but Jurassic Park at this point.
That's definitely my favorite scene.
We'll get to that. Let's go back to the scenes.
Oh, sure. So after that, John Hammond shows up and invites them to this island and tells them that he's going to fund their dig for another 3 years.
Uh,
And then we're whisked away into a helicopter, and that's when we first meet my favorite character, Dr. Ian Malcolm.
yeah, he's a good one. He's a good one, definitely. I mean, they all are. Why is he your favorite character?
I think he's my favorite character because he does bring a little bit of the comedic relief to it. He's played by Jeff Goldblum, and he's really. I mean, I think he's a character that I don't know if I'd necessarily get along with him in real life, but I really enjoy watching him in the movie.
I think that's why you can like him so much, is because
Right.
you don't have to interact with him.
Right, exactly. Because in the movie, he's one of those guys who's really smart. He knows he's really smart, and but he's also kind of funny about it. He's a little bit of a douche. I mean, he's hitting on Dr. Sattler, who is pretty obviously with Dr. Alan Grant. So, like,
And he does it right in front of his face.
Right, yeah.
Doesn't he look over at him like as he's rubbing
I
her
think so,
hand?
yeah. So, I think that's why I like him. It's just he's kind of he's just fun to watch. I think and I think Jeff Goldblum had a lot of fun with that role too.
Sure. In fact, that was the first movie I'd ever seen him in. Of course, he was in The Fly.
Probably the same with me. I don't think I'd ever. I mean, obviously, we were too young to see The Fly when it came out, so I think that was probably the first movie I'd ever seen him into. Mm-hmm. That was actually maybe the first movie I'd seen any of those people in. I don't think I'd ever seen Sam Neill before, or Laura Dern,
Yeah.
or Richard Attenborough. So,
But was Sam Neill even in anything before Jurassic Park?
He's got a pretty good resume. He was in Hunt for Red October.
Oh,
and,
okay.
A couple of things, you know.
I actually have not seen that movie. That has Sean Connery?
Yes, it does, and Alec Baldwin. He was also in The Mouth of Madness, I want to say.
Oh,
he's done a lot of stuff.
I mean,
he's been around for a while.
Yeah, I saw that a few years ago, actually. It wasn't bad. Have you seen it?
I have not, actually.
It was not bad. I think it was John Carpenter.
I believe it was. I was wrong. In the Mouth of Madness actually came out in 1994, so that was after Jurassic Park.
Really? What?
But he was, but he was
see,
also.
that's a perfect. Go ahead.
He was also in The Omen 3. He played the grown-up version of Damien, who was the little boy in the first Omen. So he had done a few things before Jurassic Park.
Man, just watching it, it looked older than 94, and that's kind of crazy how. Looking at the 90s movies, they look a lot older. Jurassic Park is still even... Of course, that's because Steven Spielberg directed it. They put a lot of money behind that.
I think that's another thing I like about this movie is that, aside from the fact that maybe these characters would have cell phones on them now, if it was made today, this movie really kind of feels timeless. There's really nothing...
Right.
It really dates this movie too much, in my opinion, anyway.
And think about how much that would have changed the story if they had been able to communicate to each other so easily.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm assuming they could... I mean, they're on a faraway island. They probably didn't get cell phone service, so if they had done that movie today, that's probably immediately what they would have said
That's
is
true.
like, oh, I don't have any service here, and then that would have explained that away. But you're right. I mean, the movie wouldn't have been nearly as scary if they could get in touch with Alan Grant, and he was like, no, I'm fine. We're actually right here with the kids. I'm in a tree.
Right.
You can find me.
And of course they go into that with the power getting shut off.
Right.
What's the line? The phones are working.
There's so many good lines. John and I could sit here and quote this whole movie for you, but as a favor to you, we won't do that.
I have a feeling we're going to do it sporadically through the podcast.
We might a little bit, depending
with
on
certain scenes.
Scenes, perhaps.
Yeah.
Going back to the helicopter scene, they're on that helicopter, and John Hammond looks out and he says, "There it is." That John Williams.
You're quoting.
Right. That's true. The John Williams score there is so good.
Oh yeah.
It's one of my favorite film scores. I mean, there's just this sense of adventure when you hear it, you know? It's not even like a scary adventure, it's just like we are in for something great when you hear that music and you see the helicopter flying towards the island.
When you hear that music and you're in the helicopter, you are a tourist going to go visit the park. You're not worried about the dinosaurs attacking.
Right. And the characters in the movie don't even know that they're about to see dinosaurs. Oh
god!
I mean,
that's true.
Granted, they're not hearing the music either, but But it just gives you a sense of something awesome is on its way.
And that's the magic of John Williams.
Right.
He's just amazing, and he always has been. And I think that I'd have to really think about it, but it's definitely in my top 2 of his scores.
He's got so many.
Just the Jurassic Park soundtrack. I'll say soundtracks then.
Well, it's the score,
right?
But I mean, you think of what he's done. He's done Star Wars. He's done Indiana Jones. He's done Jaws. He's done Jurassic Park. He's done Superman. He's done
Harry Potter.
Yeah, I mean, he's just done so many.
So he proved that he
scores.
still had it. You know, I mean, that's for him. I mean, how old was he when he did that?
I have no idea.
What is he in his 80s now?
That's a good question. You know, he signed on to do Star Wars Episode 7,
I'm so
8, and 9.
That. I did not know he signed on to do all 3.
He did, yep.
Man, would that not be amazing if he gets to pull that off? That's going to be a long time.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious how often these movies are going to come out. I know that I think Lucasfilm wants... Do they want them to be one a year? So it's going to be 2015, 16, and 17 is when those movies come out? Or is it going to be 2015, the next one's not going to come out until 2017, like a normal kind of
I don't know.
Film
That's a good question. Lord of the Rings did the back-to-back, and The Hobbit's doing it.
Right. It just seems kind of like the trend these days to do the movies back-to-back.
But Lord of the Rings came out before all of the Star Wars, the new ones came out. And they didn't...
The prequels?
Right, the prequels.
No, I don't think that's true. The first prequel came out when I was in high school. It was 99.
Right.
And then Lord of the Rings came out in 2001.
Right. But I'm saying Lord of the Rings finished before Star Wars did.
Oh, that's true.
So, I mean, you know George Lucas would have heard about that. He actually probably chose... He could have filmed Episode 2 and 3...
Back-to-back.
Back-to-back.
Right.
So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah.
I think I would prefer that they do the skipping.
Right. Well, I'm just wondering. I know it seems like to me like J.J. Abrams wouldn't necessarily want to do 3 movies back-to-back-to-back.
Good point.
I'm curious to see what they do with that as well.
Especially since he has said he's going to do Star Trek 3.
Right. And I hope he does.
Yeah, me too. Even I don't know why I'm saying that because I haven't seen the second Star Trek yet, but I've heard amazing things about it.
You got to get on that.
Yes,
we got to do an episode about it.
John Williams.
Well,
I mean, we were talking about how the music was when you're coming up to the island, and
right.
They're landing the helicopter, and then you get taken into the museum.
Well, even before that.
They don't. They just get in the Jeep, don't they?
They get in the Jeep, and then they go see the Brachiosaurus, which has that, that just chilling moment of Sam Neill taking off his sunglasses when he gets out of the Jeep. He stands up out of the Jeep.
See, that's
such a...
Steven Spielberg, he was focused on every detail of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see that really anymore.
You do every now and again.
Sure.
But some movies, you're right. Some movies feel very rushed. They don't necessarily. It feels like a lot of movies don't put the thought necessary into a film. I still think Spielberg does it. He's in a different place now. He's a lot older, so he doesn't make these types of movies anymore.
I did like War of the Worlds.
Yeah, and that's kind of probably maybe the last type of movie like this that he's made.
Right.
Because I mean, he made Tintin as well, but like the last couple, he made Lincoln and Warhorse. Those were the last 2 movies he made. So it's obvious he's kind of going in a little different direction here. Although his next movie was supposed to be Robopocalypse, but that has changed.
Really?
Yeah.
What happened?
I'm not really sure. I can't remember exactly, but I know he left the project, or he said it wasn't going to be his next movie or something.
Has he announced what it is?
I don't recall. So one of the things that I think is amazing about Jurassic Park or at least about how much I loved it as a kid, is the fact that we really don't see any dinosaurs until about halfway through the movie.
Right, not up close.
Right. Well, yeah, you see the little velociraptor, or there's not like anything. There's no real exciting dinosaur action until about halfway through the movie.
They even give you, well, they don't really show any dinosaurs except like the the brontosaurus stomping, but even that little video before you see the baby velociraptor,
it's animated,
right? So I mean, the whole at least quarter of the movie is a major tease,
right?
Which is awesome.
And I'm kind of amazed that my 9-year-old self didn't get bored, But it's not that the first half of the movie's uninteresting.
Well, I think the anticipation just, you're just waiting.
Well, that's very true.
You know
that's
the dinosaurs are coming up.
And something bad is going to happen.
That's right.
And then when they're on the tour, you see the Triceratops, and you get to see that one up close. But again, it's not really
It's again
a
tease, right.
It's just another tease kind of, because it's sick. And so you don't really get to see... You get to see him breathing, and the thing I like about that scene is just Alan Grant in the movie says he was my favorite as a kid, and he's still my favorite. And you get to really see his love for dinosaurs in that scene, and just how you can really see how if that park worked, that's the joy it would really bring to a person,
Exactly.
And it really, the acting in the movie I thought was, they do a good job with that.
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
Made you really believe that he was actually there seeing a Triceratops, and he was really excited about it.
Yeah, when he's laying on him and going up and down.
Yeah.
He's like smiling.
Yeah.
It was cool.
And then right after that is where things start to go south on Jurassic Park. The rain starts to kick in, the storm starts to brew, and they get stuck outside of the Tyrannosaur paddock.
Robert Muldoon there.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a very tense moment. I mean, it's dark and it's raining. Well, first, even before that, let's go back to the teases again, because they go by the T-Rex park when they try to feed them.
Yep.
And there's no T-Rex. And that's one of the things that adds to that when the power goes out scene is when the goat's gone.
Right, yeah, that's true.
And the leg falls on the window above them.
Yep.
Horror. I mean, and you still haven't seen the T-Rex. You don't even know where he is.
No, not yet. But then you see his little hand on the top of the electric fence that's obviously not electrified anymore. And then that's just another praise to Spielberg and how he set up this scene, because you're seeing kind of these scary images without seeing the monster yet, because you see the fence, like the wires of the fence getting ripped out one at a time, and just the noise that makes. It's got great. The sound in that scene is really good too.
And that kind of shows, he knew what success he had with Jaws and what made it so suspenseful, and he just brought that to Jurassic Park.
Right.
So then the T-Rex finally gets revealed, and you're not any less scared than you already were.
Right. It's jaw-dropping.
And that's an interesting part when he is coming over. There's a continuity issue, which after the car falls, but basically the T-Rex wouldn't have been as high as he was on the fence if the ground had been as low when the truck falls.
Oh, right.
But anyway, he comes out, and his reaction is... What was his reaction? What got him interested in the cars in the first place? It was the flashlight.
That's right. The girl, because the lawyer sees I can't remember if he leaves the car when the leg hits the truck, or if it's when he sees the T-Rex like swallowing the goat or what. But he gets a glimpse of the T-Rex and he books it, and that scares Lex, the girl.
That's right.
And she turns on the flashlight. And so I think the T-Rex, if she hadn't turned on the flashlight, the T-Rex would have just walked out of the paddock and left the two cars unharmed, and it wouldn't have been a big deal, because he, in the movie, the T-Rex can't see anything unless it's moving.
Right.
But the light caught his attention, and so the girl is really all to blame for everything that happens in the scene.
She redeems herself at the end.
That's right. And so because of that light, it gets the T-Rex's attention, and he starts to destroy that car. And then that's when Alan and Ian try to save them with the flares, and Ian does not do such a great job with that. And actually, I don't know if you've ever noticed in that scene when Ian throws the flare away and he's running from the T-Rex.
Right.
It cuts to the lawyer, and you see the lawyer in the little bathroom area, and then the T-Rex comes bursting through the bathroom doors and knocks that little hut down. Well, if you pay close attention to that scene, you can actually see Malcolm. He's like straddled across the T-Rex's snout, and he gets thrown off of the T-Rex's mouth, if you will, or nose.
That's crazy.
In just those couple of split seconds. Yeah,
Now,
it's one of those things that I never saw for the longest time, and then either somebody pointed out to me or...
Are you sure this is in the original version?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's on the... I mean, I can't remember. I didn't notice it when I saw it in the theater, but it's on the VHS. I know that.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. Yeah, that would be the original version.
I don't think it's anything that Spielberg went back in and like CGI'd in.
What's funny too is if Dr. Malcolm had just stopped running before he threw it, well, I don't know, because the T-Rex saw that he was food. I was going to say,
but if he was just perfectly still, the T-Rex wouldn't have been able to see him anymore. So if he'd thrown the flare, the T-Rex would have gone after the flare, which is what Alan Grant was doing.
But Alan Grant just stood there.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that still attracted the T-Rex to Malcolm after he threw the flare was he's running, and the T-Rex is like, well, I'm not going to go after that small thing. Look at you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and Alan Grant even said in the same, well, not in the same scene, but in the previous scene, that the T-Rex doesn't want to be fed; he wants to hunt. So
true.
There's that element of hunting that the T-Rex wants to do.
I just thought of this too. Because of that statement, was he starving because he decided to eat the goat, and
it's possible.
Then of course he's coming after these guys because he hasn't eaten in a long time.
Right, and then of course he gets to eat the lawyer, which is
and it did not satisfy his appetite.
No, I don't think it did. But that scene I actually covered my eyes for when I was a 9-year-old kid, because that opening scene kind of made me worry about the rest of the movie, and so then I was kind of paranoid that I was going to be scared during the rest of the film. And I was wearing a baseball hat, and I remember seeing that T-Rex like look at that lawyer, and I was like, "Oh, he's going to eat him." And I remember I pulled my hat over my eyes, and so I didn't actually see it the first time I saw the movie.
I think I did. The one scene that I remember wanting to close my eyes was what was the dinosaur that spits?
The Dilophosaurus.
Yes, the Dilophosaurus. And he's eating what's his name?
Dennis Nedry.
Yeah. And then the camera pans down, and you see this mud. Like spewing, like kind of like falling, and right. I remember thinking, "There's going to be guts."
yeah, that's right.
I didn't close my eyes though, and there were no guts.
I remember being terrified during that scene because when he falls down that hill and he realizes that he's going to attach the cable to that tree and like pull his car down. That tree, to me, when I was a kid, really looked like the T-Rex's foot. It looked like his leg, like the bottom of his leg.
Uh-huh.
And so I remember thinking, I was like, that's the T-Rex's leg. He's attaching it to the T-Rex. He's going to get eaten. I was a stupid kid, obviously.
Can you imagine that actually being what he did?
Case. Right.
And watching it today and trying to take that seriously.
Right. I've got a question about the Dilophosaurus scene, actually. Is it a second Dilophosaurus that's in the car? Because you remember, Dennis Nedry gets spit in the eyes, and he falls down, and you see the little shaving cream can fall out and everything.
Right.
And then he gets in the car, and the Dilophosaurus is in the car. It's the same one? So that Dilophosaurus ran really quickly up the hill,
I think
past Dennis Nedry and got in the car?
That's what I think.
Okay. That's what I assumed, too, but I was like, that sucker's fast then.
Well, I mean, he's a dinosaur.
Maybe he's got like a...
He's a small one, too, so he's going to be quick.
That's true.
He kind of resembles the Velociraptor.
Yeah, a little bit.
So...
By the way, this is a kind of a sort of off topic, but not really. On the Jurassic Park ride, at least to the one in Hollywood, at the very end of the ride, there's a shaving cream can that's like sitting in the rocks off to the left or whatever. So you, like right before you get out of the boat, you can look over and you see the shaving cream can. I thought that was a nice little touch.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forced myself to go on that ride at Universal Studios Florida. Because I hate roller coasters, and if I go on one, it'd have to be Jurassic Park.
I didn't know that about you. I didn't realize that you didn't like roller coasters.
Sure you did. Remember when we went to Six Flags and you guys like had to push me onto Batman?
I don't recall that, actually. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it was me, you, Chris Pion.
Didn't mean to peer pressure you to do something.
No. I mean, I wanted to ride Batman. It was kind of the same thing where I wanted to ride Jurassic Park because it was Jurassic Park.
Right.
Really wanted to ride Batman. But if it hadn't been for you guys, I wouldn't have gotten on it. It was all right.
It was all right.
I'm sure if I loved roller coasters, it would have been awesome. I had to kind of force myself to enjoy it, especially when it looked like I was going to go crashing into the rocks.
Right.
But
the Jurassic Park ride, did you enjoy that one?
I loved the fact that I rode it.
Right.
I liked going through the park, even though the dinosaurs definitely need updating. Mm-hmm. And that was 7 years ago.
Right.
And
the dinosaurs are a little cheesy. They have, you can tell that they're just robots essentially, because they kind of have that a little bit of that jerky movement when they go back and forth and whatnot.
And you can tell the skin is rubber.
Right.
It's very
sometimes, especially because the ride's getting kind of old, the rubber's like falling off and stuff.
Terminator dinosaurs.
Exactly. But the ride, that I don't know why, I just love that ride so much. And I actually recently got to ride it at night, and they had like fog machines going on and everything, and it was just a really cool atmosphere. It was really fun. It made you really feel like you were at the park, at Jurassic Park.
Yeah. I remember the T-Rex part, as scary as it is, because that's when they tricked me too.
That's the big drop.
They tricked me too, because I thought we were going to go under the T-Rex.
Uh-huh.
But you actually start to feel the
drop,
the log, or what are you? I guess you're in a Jurassic Park boat.
Yeah.
Start to tip, and I couldn't even enjoy the T-Rex anymore because we were going down. I remember my body was literally being supported by my thin metal bar.
Oh, really?
I was off the seat.
Oh, wow.
And but when we hit water, the awesome theme music goes on. And I felt like I had accomplished something amazing in Jurassic Park. Mm-hmm. So it was great. I won't ride it again, though.
Oh, that's sad.
I don't know. We'll see.
Another one of my favorite scenes is when Ellie Sattler and Muldoon go out to find Alan Grant and everything. And they find Malcolm, who's injured, and they load him up in the Jeep, and then the T-Rex starts to chase them down. But right before that happens, Malcolm is alone in the Jeep, and you hear the boom of the T-Rex footsteps, and you see the ripple in the water, in the T-Rex footprint in the water, in the ground. I can't speak. And Malcolm starts kind of talking to himself. And I don't remember exactly everything that he says, but my favorite line, I think in maybe the whole movie, is when he goes, "I'm fairly alarmed here."
I think I picked up that he said that not too long ago.
Oh, really?
In fact, I think it was when my kids watched Jurassic Park. They've probably seen it more than me now.
Right.
For 2 weeks straight, the credits would go up and they'd want to watch it again.
Oh, wow. Good smart kids.
I wanted to take them to the theater so bad, and we did not go. I'll have an opportunity again.
I'm sure you will.
So, so I think that was the first time I picked up on a lot of lines, actually. Just going over rewatches over the years. Mm-hmm. As you get older, just that you didn't pay attention to younger.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely.
Good writing.
Yeah. And I guess we can give credit to where credit is due. That's Michael Crichton wrote the book, and David, I'm sure how you say his name, Coep, co-wrote the screenplay with him and Michael Crichton. Or he and Michael Crichton, I should say, wrote the screenplay.
Right.
Speaking of that, I've read the book. I like the book, but I think this is one of the rare instances where the movie is better than the book.
Right, I've only read half the book, actually.
Right.
That's not because it was boring. I mean, I was enjoying it, but it was at a time when I wasn't really into reading, so I just put it down and haven't picked it back up yet.
Never picked it back up. I read it a couple times. I actually read it when I was a kid after I saw the movie. I became so obsessed with Jurassic Park that I wanted, like, everything Jurassic Park. And so I bought the book when I was a kid and read it when I was a child, and I don't think any of it made sense to me because there's a lot of science in the book, I think, and
oh yeah,
it just kind of went over my head when I was a kid. And I read it again as an adult, and I enjoyed it more, I think, as an adult, but I still think the movie's so much better.
I would imagine. I can't imagine the book being better than the movie.
Right.
But, so, one of the next major scenes is when they're trying to turn back on the power.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they run into the velociraptors.
Right. It's pretty much the first time we see, like, the real velociraptors in action. Also with an iconic line in that scene as well, with the clever girl.
That's probably my favorite line in the movie, I think. Wow. But, yeah, you... and they do some more teases with you here. Because you've got... They do the intercuts. We mentioned this. They do the intercuts in this scene between Robert Muldoon and Ellie Sattler.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see Mr. Arnold's arm fall.
Right.
That's when you know things are about to get really bad.
That was a great scene, too, because Laura Dern's character, Ellie Sattler, turns on the power, and the music is swelling. It seems like it's this happy moment. She's like, I think we're back in business. And then...
See, I knew the quotes.
And then the Velociraptor, like, jumps out from behind that wall, and it really... It was scary. It made me jump, I think, in the theater the first time I saw it.
Oh, yeah.
It was a great moment.
I mean, how old were you, 8?
I was 9.
You were 9? I would have been 8 then.
I was 9, about to be 10. I was going to turn 10 a few months later.
I know I was in...
I was going into
I was in 4th grade. Yeah, I was going into 4th grade.
Right.
So...
I remember when I took my mom to go see it, she jumped at that moment, too.
One of my favorite characters dies in that scene. Barbara Muldoon.
Right.
And then she makes it... She finds Alan Grant.
Right after that, she's reunited with Alan Grant,
right.
too. I mean, we've basically skipped over all of Alan Grant's stuff with the kids, but that's okay. She's reunited with Alan Grant. The kids are seemingly safe in the welcome center, I guess you could call it now. So the kids are left alone, and they are in heaven because they're getting to eat all that food. I don't know. That's a good question. That's like maybe one of the only, not big problems I have with the movie, but like, why is all that food out there, and how long has it been sitting there? I mean, granted, this movie only takes place in a couple of days, but still, it's like everybody left the island because of that big storm and everything. Were they not going to pack up that food? Were they just going to leave it to rot? I don't know. Anyway, the kids are eating the food. It's a forgivable sin, that's for sure. The kids are eating the food, and that's when they get their first glimpse of the Velociraptor.
Yeah, and what a scene that was.
Mm-hmm. Which leads us into the classic kitchen scene, which is just so suspenseful. I remember being on the edge of my seat the first time I saw this movie.
I remember the most, I think, just spine-numbing moment for me was when you see the reflection of Tim.
No, it's Lex. When she's trying to close.
Oh, it was Lex. Yeah,
it's Lex.
She's
trying to close the door.
It does not look like a reflection.
No.
And he just comes and bam, and yeah, suspense.
Mm-hmm. And then I love the scene where Timmy is distracting the Velociraptor with the ladle, and then he runs into the freezer, and then you see see Lexi with her arms fully extended, running out. And she like hits the door.
Like Macaulay Culkin.
Right, exactly. It's so great.
Yeah, and you know, in the beginning of that scene too, before they even start the attack, they are tapping their nails.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also
they are sinister, man. I mean,
they would talk to each other too. I mean, they
they
had
could
a
communicate.
language.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
Again, like nothing we'd ever seen before. I think right after the kitchen scene, they're reunited with Alan Grant and Ellie, and then all four of them are kind of stalked, if you will, by the Velociraptors, chased throughout the building.
Right.
And that's when they go into the control room, and he's doing the whole, you know, trying to get the doors locked, and that's when Lexi saves the day by hacking into the... Oh, that... Okay, you know, I said the movie seemed timeless before. I forgot about the computer system in this scene, because that definitely dates the movie. The computer system for the park that she's hacking into, that looks old. But still...
Another forgivable thing.
Another forgivable sin, of course.
Well, it wasn't a sin at the time. It was top notch then.
Yeah, it's not even
I mean, I remember thinking, whoa, that's a cool program. Is it a video game?
It's 20 years ago, so it's obviously that's going to change, but it's okay. And then that's another one of my favorite scenes. I mean, this whole movie is just filled of favorite scenes, obviously. Filled of.
You can't watch this movie.
I'm going to speak proper English now. This whole movie is full of scenes I love, but I love that moment where he says the phones are working, and you see John Hammond, and from his perspective, we hear that the Velociraptors are coming through the glass, and you hear the gunshots and everything, and you just feel his sense of helplessness, and he yells out. I love that moment because it's scary because we don't see it, we just hear it, and so we're just as scared as John Hammond is.
Oh yeah. You can really see the just absolute fear in his eyes.
Absolutely.
Another one that I wanted to bring up was before the Velociraptors come and they're eating.
Mm-hmm.
And how they introduced the Velociraptor in that scene is just brilliant. Yeah. Where the silhouette walks up to the Velociraptor that's painted, or it was a glass or something, that's, wow.
Yeah, it was chilling. I mean, you see the silhouette of that Velociraptor kind of almost get right into place with the painted Velociraptor that's on that. I guess I never thought about it. I guess it's not a wall. You wouldn't see a silhouette of a Velociraptor through a wall.
It's glass.
So it must be like a glass painting or something.
He can jump through there if he wants. Granted, he can't see them, but they end up hearing them, and that's when they go into the kitchen. So they're being chased in the control room. Right.
And then it leads to the big finale, which is where they're in the main lobby.
Well, before how they get to the lobby is by climbing down dinosaur bones like a ladder, which is just classic. You use the ribs of the T-Rex.
And it doesn't even go very well because the Velociraptor jumps on one and
the
pieces start falling and everything. Right.
And
it's
then
a very intense scene.
Right. And then after the bone...
They look like they're trapped. There's the two Velociraptors on both sides. They have nowhere to go. And although this is perhaps maybe one of the more unbelievable moments in the movie, it's definitely got to be a favorite, where the T-Rex comes in to save the day and takes that Velociraptor in its mouth, shakes it, and throws it into the dinosaur bones. I mean, how that T-Rex even got into the building is a little beyond me, but like I like the idea of there being a T-Rex door,
right?
You know,
right? There was a T-Rex door,
but I mean that scene is so iconic, and then you see the T-Rex scream, the banner falls when dinosaurs ruled the earth. I mean,
that banner that needed to be there.
Absolutely.
That just brought it up to a rated 10 scene right there. When dinosaurs once ruled the earth,
and then you get the classic line: "I've decided not to endorse your park."
And then you see the birds.
Yep.
Which, of course, Alan Grant thinks that dinosaurs evolved into birds.
Right.
And he's like, well, these are the dinosaurs I like.
Right.
He doesn't say that.
No, but he's... It's a good ending to the movie, definitely.
And wasn't John Hammond, like, looking at the mosquito in his cane like twirling.
He might have been, yeah. He might have been.
Just good, yeah. Steven Spielberg.
Good job, Steven.
It's my favorite movie of all time, so. And he's got
mine as well.
He's got quite a few of his others way up there as well.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, we love this movie a whole lot. It's our favorite movie of all time, so, if I were to give it a letter grade, I'd obviously give it an A+.
Yeah, and I usually rate my number, I give it a 10.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, obviously, we like this movie a lot. If you disagree with us, feel free to email us or comment on our website, www.cinemaheroes.com. My email is justin@cinemaheroes.com. John's is john@cinemaheroes.com. You can always yell at us on Twitter, @cinemaheroes, or you can do our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/SM&SM podcast. Thanks for listening, everybody.
You are going to have dinosaurs on the dinosaur tour?
I really hate that, man. Dotson! We got Dotson here! See? Nobody cares.
Hey, we were saving that for today. I guarantee it.
Hello, John. Hello, John. Hello, John. Hello, John.
Good afternoon, John.
Hold on to your butts.
You didn't say the magic word. Ah.
Yeah, but when the Pirates of the Caribbean break down, the pirates don't eat the tourists.
What's the matter, kid? Never had lamb chops?
When you gotta go, you gotta go.
Please!
I hate this hack of crap. He left us.
But that's not what I'm gonna do.